This is the plaintiff, Elmer Solkowski. He says he rented the first floor of his house to his one-time friend, the defendant. And what a nightmare it turned out to be. He stopped paying rent, moved out, and cut off all contact with him. He wasn't about to let this guy get away with not paying him, so he tracked him down, served him with this lawsuit, seeking the $1,674 he's owed. And here they are. This is the defendant, Christopher Vanacore. He says things were tough during that period and he did leave the plaintiff's house owing 2 months' rent. But the guy never asked him for it. Now, 6 years later, he gets served with papers letting him know he's being sued by the plaintiff. The plaintiff has some gall. Not only does he believe he's past the statute of limitations, the place he rented wasn't even legal. He's accused of unfriending a friend. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,674 for harassment.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff rented the first floor of his house to his former good friend, and it was a nightmare. The guy stopped paying rent, but the defendant says he had fallen on hard times, but that was 6 years ago, so come on. It's the case of a house divided.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Solkowski, you and Mr. Vanacore used to be friends, correct?
Yes.
How did you two know each other?
Through work.
All right, and then sometime in October of 2011, you decided that you needed some help on your mortgage?
Yeah, mortgage bills, etc.
All right, so you talked to him and it would be mutually beneficial for him as well.
Yes.
How did you split up the house?
It's a raised ranch, so he had the whole lower level, which was finished off, and we lived upstairs.
Okay, so time passes, and after a certain number of months, how many, then he gets just 2 behind?
Well, I mean, the payments were getting behind slower and so, and his sister was also helping him. So, I mean, and it just got to a point where I was struggling to pay my bills because he wasn't paying me, so.
Okay, so you
said,
tell him you gotta go. Let me just ask you, so what month do the problems begin?
Well, it was 2004, it was like towards the end of 2014.
Okay. And when he moves out, according to you, he owes January and February, correct?
And partial of December.
Okay. Do you disagree that when you moved out in February of 2014, you owed that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
The reason being is I didn't have a legal lease with him, and I do believe that the apartment was rented illegally.
Okay.
And I have paperwork.
Are you zoned 2-family or 1-family?
I think it's 1 family.
So his position is if you're not zoned 2-family, you can't rent that place out because Connecticut in particular has some really strict laws about this.
Well, it's iffy. I mean, it was
iffy?
2,
yeah, they
and then
make
it was
you
1.
actually go out and get a CO each and every time you switch tenants. But let me ask you this, though, more importantly, did you guys have, a lease doesn't have to be in writing to be enforceable, but did you have a lease that was in writing?
No.
So it was all verbal?
It was a verbal agreement,
okay.
Yeah.
But how long do you think you have to file a lawsuit for something like this? Because
the thing is, when he left, he said he'd pay me, and then he was in the process of getting disability. So, I mean, time's going by.
Right.
Then I can't find him. He's like, we were on Facebook, and all of a sudden, gone.
So does this tenant have to pay rent if it's an illegal apartment?
He should have to pay something, I believe. Maybe not the full amount, but something.
Something? Nothing? What?
Well, I think it's unfair, but they have the right not to pay. I mean, if there's no actual
legal apartment,
then no, they don't have any.
Fair enough, going inside the courtroom.
Every cause of action has a limitation within which you have to file it. So you can't say, I couldn't find him. He wasn't on Facebook. That's not an answer. You have to hire an investigator and find him and serve him.
Well, that's why I got the marshal. Yeah, I have the marshal serve him.
Yeah, but you did that this year. And your statute of limitations without a written lease is 3 years.
Okay, I didn't know that, no.
Did you look to see before you filed a lawsuit what the statute of limitations?
No, I'm not,
All right. Now you have your counterclaim for harassment and pain and suffering is exactly $1,674, the exact amount that you're suing him for. And that is based on what? The guy trying to get his money back then?
Well, it's based upon that and also just the harassment.
What harassment? I'm asking you.
Well, it's just every day.
Suing you?
Every day. No. It's every day the same the same thing.
Every day, pay the rent
day.
you owe.
And he knew my situation.
Why haven't you paid the rent? You know that I don't manage money well. That's literally what you said in one of the texts. That you know I don't manage money well. I mean, why don't you take some responsibility? So you guys have been friends for how long before all this happened?
About 10, 15 years.
10 or 15 years. So you lost a friendship over this?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Whose fault do you think that is? It's completely your fault. It's completely your fault. I mean, the fact that the guy can't get over it 6 years later and file a lawsuit, to me, is kind of sad. It's completely on you. All right. Based on the statute of limitations, I have no choice but to rule against you, and my verdict on your lawsuit against him is in his favor, because it's barred by the statute of limitations. It's been well over 3 years. Now, your counterclaim against him, here's a surprise, 0. Because it's not harassment for somebody to try to get you to grow up and pay your bills. Okay? Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, Doug, I mean, look, there's a purpose in the statute of limitations, which is that people need to know that they can move on with their lives. If there was a brewing dispute, there's got to be a limit so that people can say, financially, I know where I stand.